This is the EVP Podcast. It's the EVP Podcast, everybody. And we're back. We got your host here. I'm Ghosty.
Oh, hey, I'm Beaker.
And we're on episode 153.
153.
Yeah.
Next one will be 154.
It will be.
It means nothing.
Next week, we have a pre-recorded episode coming your way.
Why would you tell them that?
Because how else were they going to know?
They wouldn't.
They don't have to know, and I don't have to say anything, but I wanted to. I don't care.
Hey, guess what? There's an episode that's already been recorded.
Yeah.
That will be there next week. It's a good episode, I think.
You won't even know.
I
won't know until next week.
I won't know until next week. I wasn't a part of the episode.
Hey, we want to say thanks to our last guest that we had.
We said that already. Last week we didn't have a guest. Last week it was just us. Before that, it was Grim Ghost Tours.
I'm
before
confused.
that, it was the Finlays.
Maybe this is pre-recorded then.
Do you know what you're doing?
No, I'm lost today. Sorry.
Clearly.
Yeah. What day is this?
Sunday.
Okay.
Monday. Podcasting magic. It's Monday, everybody.
Yeah, it's Monday. That's
Happy
right.
Monday.
That's right. This is
June
also pre-recorded,
3rd.
like I told you.
Welcome to June 3rd.
Well,
When we're we're recording. We're doing it live.
live and
In
direct.
case, look, everybody knows podcasting, how it works.
Yeah, it's magic.
It's magic.
That's how everything works. It's not science, it's magic.
So did you know there's ghosts. I was going to say something completely different, and I changed my mind because I'm not ready.
You're not ready yet?
No.
Okay. There is ghosts.
There's ghosts.
And there's ghosts apparently in the desert.
I was going to tell people why I was gone for a month. Why we were gone for a month, but I'm not ready.
Okay.
People know. People that are on my Facebook know what's going
Yeah.
on. So,
Any ghosty stuff happening over the last week? Any?
no. So I work with a gentleman who is from Venezuela, and he doesn't listen to this. So I'm going to share some of the stories he shared with me yesterday.
Perfect.
I asked him because I like learning about different people's cultures and where they're from and what they believe when it comes to the paranormal. Because I know some cultures are not like normal Americans where they see a ghost and they're like, let's go talk to it. Most people treat it with respect, as they should. And I asked him what his family believed or what they believed in Venezuela. And he's like, oh, I've got stories for you. And he told me a couple. He told me 3 different stories. One involved, it was either him directly or family members. And the first one he told me was about like his dad. I guess he used to read some sort of book or something, and they think that he might have been not necessarily possessed, but had some kind of entity with him. And he was saying that his dad and his brother are like able to see and hear spirits. But he was telling me about there's been these times where they were at their house there in Venezuela, and they had like a guava tree nearby. He'd tell it a lot better than I could, but it involved like a witch, is what he said. And he said they would hear like this witch like throwing the guava fruit at their house and like laughing loudly and stuff at night. And this is just paraphrasing real quick about some of those stories. The other one was they were, him and a bunch of his friends, they were staying in a house there in Venezuela, and I can't remember the word he was using because he was telling me what they call it in Spanish. And he said the closest word that we have here in English would be an attic, like above the house. And it's just somewhere, obviously, where you store stuff. So I guess they had, a lot of people in the house. And one of his friends decided to go sleep up in this attic area. And he was the only one up there. And they said that he said he could hear like footsteps walking around while his friend was up there sleeping. And they said it even got to the point where it sounded like there's 2 sets of footsteps on either side of his friend. And they asked him if he was okay up there. And he's like, no, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. And then
he could hear them while he was up there too?
So I don't know if he heard them or not, but it did get, I'm pretty sure he did, because my friend told me that it got to the point that his friend actually came down out of the attic and didn't want to go back up in there. But they said they could literally hear like 2 sets of footsteps, and they could see like the dirt coming through the ceiling.
Oh, like it was stomping mad that he was up there?
I guess.
Probably. That's crazy.
The other story, and like I said, he would tell these a lot better than me, but the third story was like his cousin was out at someone's house, and he mentioned to me that the person they were with was brewing some coffee because his cousin asked this person to brew some coffee. Okay. So I guess she had to go to the bathroom, and they didn't really have bathrooms there. So she went off and, kind of...
She went outside.
Dig a hole.
She went out to go dig a hole.
And I guess when she got done, or when she was in doing her business, she saw this old couple staring at her. And so she got, nervous, puts her clothes back on real quick. And she's apologizing. So sorry. I didn't know you were there. And the guy was like, no worries. It's okay. It's fine. Whatever. And he offered her some coffee. And she says, no, it's okay. My family's making coffee for me. I asked them to, so I'm going to drink that coffee.
They offered to go, thanks for showing us your privates. Want some coffee?
I guess. I don't know. But he said the lady, didn't say anything and just kind of stood there, looking creepy, right? So she gets done talking to this old guy. He's like, if we're going to be here all afternoon, if you want to come by and talk or whatever, you're more than welcome to. And she's like, okay, thank you. Goes back to the other person that was brewing the coffee, and she's like, hey, who are your neighbors? And she's like, what are you talking about? She's like, the house next door, there was an older couple. They were really nice, very friendly. They offered me some coffee, and I told them no. And the person she was talking to was just like, there's no house over there. No one lives there. There's no one there. So they went out to go look, and they showed my friend's cousin that, there's no house there. There's no one there. So it's possible they think that she might have been talking to some just wandering spirits, or it could have been just complete strangers that were stalking him. I have no idea. But just the way he told these stories, I kind of got chills. I thought it was really cool that he shared these with me.
That's good that you can remember them, because I have people that will tell me ghost stories.
Oh, I didn't give you all the details. There was way more to what he said, but I'm just kind of giving you
right. But people will tell me some ghost stories. And I'm like, can you email that to me or text it to me so I can retell it on the podcast? Because that's good. And then I forget them. And then they never send them to me.
I have a somewhat decent memory. Sometimes it's selective.
My long-term memory is great.
It's the short term. When you're around certain chemicals a lot, like Coca-Cola. Molecules, they mess with your brain. If you don't get enough sleep, your short-term memory is going to be a little out of whack. We'll go with lack of sleep. That's the excuse.
Or lots of sleep.
Or too much sleep, apparently. So, yeah, now that I've put everyone to sleep with my sexy, sexy voice.
Yeah, now let's go to the desert.
Let's go to the desert. What part? What desert?
So, we are going to Death Valley, California.
Why?
Because there's a castle there.
But you can't get to the castle.
You can get to the castle.
Oh, you can get to the castle.
There's roads now.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
So, this place is a little oasis in the Grapevine Canyon of northern Death Valley, California.
Is it an oasis?
It's a little oasis.
Okay.
This is called the Death Valley Ranch, or better known, Scotty's Castle.
Scotty sounds like a wonderful person. Let's find out if this is true.
So this place, Scotty's Castle, is a window into the life of the times of the Roaring 20s and the Great Depression of the 30s. It was an engineer's dream home, a wealthy matron's vacation home, and a man of mystery's hideout and getaway. Okay. So, this was built by a guy named Albert Johnson. He built the house as a vacation getaway for himself and his wife, Bessie. Scotty, who was the mystery man, he was a cowboy and an entertainer, but he was also a good friend of Albert's, which they became friends over time. Albert was the brains and the money, and the two men, as different as the night and day, from the different worlds and different visions, they shared the same dream.
So this whole friendship, reading about this, it just seems so weird.
Yeah.
Because Mr. Scott, Walter Scott is his name, but he went by Scotty. He lured Mr. Johnson there to Death Valley under false pretenses.
Yeah, he sure did. When Albert Johnson was born, he was born already rich. So this guy was born in Ohio.
I want to be born rich.
And he was raised very religious. He didn't swear. He never smoked. He didn't drink liquor. And he graduated from Cornell University with a degree in civil engineering. He ended up marrying Bessie. He went on to make his fortune in the corporate world of finance and big business. While Walter Scott, better known as Death Valley Scotty, he convinced everyone that he had built the castle with money from his rich secret mines in the area.
Now, the thing is about these mines, this mines that he had, this is what got Albert Johnson to come to Death Valley. He told Albert, hey, I've got this gold mine out here.
Well, and so this was in 1904. So this is before the Depression and all that.
This is during like the silver rush in Nevada and the gold rush in California.
And so
he's
Walter
like, I've
Scott,
got this gold mine.
He goes to Chicago, Illinois to get backers for this investment. And so, yeah, he's trying to swindle the shit out of people. And he ends up conning Albert Johnson to give him money for these mines to invest. And
wasn't it like $1 million or something like that?
I can't remember, but it was quite a bit of money. It might be in here somewhere.
It's like, come check out my gold mine.
But so he's giving him money. He's constantly giving this guy money. And after all these years, he has no return on his investments. He's sent somebody out there to go check on this so-called gold mines.
Spoiler alert, there was no mine.
Well, this guy tells Albert Johnson that there's no gold mines, and he's like, no. He's tricking you. He's tricking you. There's mines, all right. We're going to go get them. So he goes out there and like visits with him, and he spends like up to months at a time while he's out there. But he keeps going back and forth and finding out that the desert air, the arid temperatures, and everything about it is kind of good for his health. And so he actually enjoys it.
So Death Valley, good for your health. Got it.
So between 1906 and 1922, Johnson had visited the area about a half a dozen times. And Scotty always meets Johnson when he gets there as a kind of like a tour guide. And the two men would camp in canvas tents. They would tour the desert, check out the whole wilderness, and they'd be on horseback the whole time. And sometimes he was there for about a month long.
Which is a long time back then.
Yeah, in the desert, in the hot desert.
In the hot desert, in Death Valley. There's a reason why they call it Death Valley. It's like the hottest place. I don't know if it's on Earth or just in America.
No, on Earth.
But I think
it's below sea level.
Yeah, the record temperature is like 135 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, that's hot as shit.
And very recently, they got very close to that record at 132.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was hot as shit. Bessie, who was Johnson's wife, she later wrote that what had started as a business expedition to inspect some mining claims transformed into a regular seasonal vacation and ultimately into a 10-year building campaign. The subtle allures of the desert combined with the captivating companionship of the likable Walter Scott, known to the public as Death Valley Scotty, to persuade Albert to forsake the luxuries of the marble mansion on the shores of Lake Michigan. So he was living big on Lake Michigan and moved all away to the desert.
Yeah, well, that sounds like a reasonable thing to do.
And
screw this lake. I hate this view.
But after a while, so like it took 10 years to build this house. They were taking 10 years to build this house, and it was like during the Depression and everything.
Nowhere.
Yeah, well, they couldn't work for like 3 months out of the year either.
Yeah. Let me guess. December, January, February?
No. June, July, August.
Facetious. Yeah. The hot months in Death Valley.
But even after Johnson realized that Scott had lied and cheated him, he continued to befriend him.
Yeah, it's okay.
Perhaps Johnson envisioned Scott as one of the last romantic figures engendered by the Wild West, or maybe Johnson was utterly enraptured with the stories and the tall tales Scott was so expert at telling.
He wanted to stoop him.
Yeah. And
I have no idea.
What I was hearing was that they would pretend like people would want to come like see how they're see this castle being made and how they're making this. They would pretend that there was a mine under the house and make noises like they were mining for gold under the house.
Yeah,
and it was all a ruse. But yeah, this is crazy. The Johnsons chose this location to escape the crowds and the pressures of the city, so that's why they chose this place out in the desert. They certainly did not mean to attract the attention of the curious public. The lavishness they sought in their new home was not meant to impress strangers or the public at large, but only to please themselves and to ingratiate those few individuals they invited there as guests. That being the case, it is not so hard to understand why the Johnsons allowed Scott to claim the building as his. When asked by a reporter what his relationship to Scott and the ranch was, Johnson reportedly said, "I'm only his banker. Although Scott had practically nothing to do with any part of the construction directly, Johnson continued to allow Scott to be the figurehead for the entire operation. Friends knew that it was all, what the truth was, but they liked pretending that Scotty was like the one running the show,
right?
Even though he had nothing to do with it, because he was such like a showman.
He named the castle after Scott's. It's Scotty's castle. No, it's Johnson's castle.
Well, here's another funny story.
It doesn't have the same ring though.
When they built this castle,
do you want to go to Johnson's castle? Sounds hot.
Sounds dirty.
Well, it sounds hot because it's in Death Valley.
Yeah, it sounds hot and dirty.
Yeah.
So this castle was actually not even built on the property that Johnson had bought.
No, it was built on like
miles away. Yeah, on BLM land.
Yeah, it was built on government land.
And so the surveyors, they probably didn't even think that he was actually going to like live out there. So they weren't even doing their job right. When they were supposed to go out and survey everything, they just walked out like to a close spot and just measured it. Like, yeah, this is it. Sure, this is it right here.
This looks good. Let's do this.
So they went and just started building and found out during building that they were on the wrong land. So they had to stop construction, get the right approvals, and all the stuff that they needed to continue building and actually live on the land with permission. So they got permission to actually keep building and live on the land. That's not even theirs.
The government was probably like, it's hot as shit there, and
like I don't even know what we're gonna do with it.
Yeah, so why don't you live there and pay us?
Yeah,
gotcha, suckers.
Then after a while, so after the house is built and everything, so it was built around 1924. So by our early 1920s, so barely by our standards, it's haunted.
I don't even think they got to finish building it before the Great Depression hit, though.
No, the Great Depression was already full force when they were still building.
Yeah.
They had to fire entire crews. They were taking advantage of this because they knew that a lot of people were hard up for work and needed to work, and so they could hire anybody they needed at any time. There's no lack of workers. They're going to get workers no matter what. And
in Death Valley,
they were going to get workers. And there was like 3 occasions where Johnson had to fire his entire crew because he had strict rules about them not drinking on the job and all these certain things.
Did you say drinking?
Drinking, yeah, okay. They get drunk. So
they said jerking on the job, and I'm like,
drinking and jerking.
I would have that rule too. No jerking.
Yeah,
on the
you
job.
Can't be jerking on the job.
Don't jerk on the job.
But they ended up. Because they would end up having issues with people being drunk, and they'd end up he would just fire the entire crew. Everybody's gone. And they even had segregation back then where they had whites and Indians. So they had a lot of Native American workers there, and they had white workers there. And sometimes I'm pretty sure there was a lot of fights that would happen, and if they involved alcohol or whatever, he just fired everybody.
Okay.
So he took advantage of the Great Depression because he was able to do that kind of thing where he's just like, what? I don't want to sit there and play a babysitter. You're all gone.
When you're rich, you can do what you want.
So this is it was pretty cool. So anyways, that's why it took 10 years. It took 10 years to build this place, but it's a damn castle.
I've had enough of you. You're gone.
So about 1943, Albert's world got turned upside down because his wife Bessie was killed in a car accident.
Oh, was she?
The event occurred when he and Bessie went over a mountain pass some 40 miles south of the ranch. When Albert lost control of the car, Bessie was killed instantly. And on Ghost Adventures, there was a little thing about that where
it was a conspiracy.
It kind of looks like things were covered up and that he might have backed over her.
He ran over her head and crushed her skull with the tire of the car.
Yeah. I don't even know how that even happens.
I don't even know how you say you have
accidentally
run
over someone's head. Like, was she taking a nap under the car and he didn't know what the hell?
According to their source, someone had actually seen the death certificate.
And it was covered up or something.
It's like a lot of it was covered up and it was like locked away by the government, which is very odd if this is actually true, that the government would like go to such lengths to hide someone's death certificate. But they're saying like, yeah, he ran her over and that there was this big conspiracy cover up.
Yeah, so it's kind
of... Which I wouldn't put it past him because, when you're rich, you can do
whatever you want to do. And then in 1946, so they actually, before she died,
she must have been friendly.
They were trying to do things to where they were doing tours of the property, of the castle. They ended up making it a state park or a national park at this point already.
I believe so. This place is huge, though.
Yeah, it's way huge.
It's a couple, like 10,
5 acres or something. Something huge.
It's big. It's huge.
50 acres. I don't know. It's a lot of. It's
5
a lot
to
of land.
50 acres.
It's enough land for a castle.
It's somewhere between 5 and 50 acres.
Yeah,
There's
between
no
5
way
and
to
50
know.
acres. You use that Google machine.
There's no way of knowing.
So they ended up, after it became a national park, they were still living on it with the okay from the national park owners. I don't know who, the government. They got the okay from the government saying that they could still live on there. And they were doing tours of the castle in part of the national park to make money in order to stay living there, because I think there was a lot of things with the Great Depression, all that stuff. The World War II. Oh, yeah, they weren't getting any more visitors much anymore at this point either. So in 1946, Johnson established a charity called the Gospel Foundation. And the charity was organized to manage Johnson's estate and to undertake certain social betterment functions. And in 1947, Johnson inserted a provision in his will that all his land holdings would fall to the foundation once he died. Because I guess he owned a lot of properties in different areas, so that was also a source of income for them. Johnson transferred several properties to the foundation in his will. Besides the Death Valley Ranch, they would gain control of the Shadelands Ranch and the Hollywood home. Johnson died on January 7, 1948. One more provision in Albert Johnson's will called for his friend Walter Scott to be taken care of by the Gospel Foundation after his passing and to be allowed to stay in the ranch until his death. Walter Scott died in 1954 and was buried on the hill overlooking Scotty's castle next to a beloved dog.
Ooh, scary if you're Zach Bacon.
Right?
This entire property, the land is like 1,500 acres.
1,500?
Yes, 1500, 1,500.
So we were real close.
We were real close.
Like just by a hair.
We were off by
a dog hair.
We were off by 1,700.
Between 5 and 50.
5 and 50. We were really close.
Oh,
this actually says the entire area is 1,778 acres.
Maybe the castle itself sits on 5 acres.
I don't know. The whole land, the land that this ranch is on, is like 1,700, almost 1,800 acres.
Right.
Which is really close to 50.
Real close to 50.
We were right there.
I know. Give or take.
Okay, so he's buried on the hill.
And what's funny, so he was telling people up until the point he died that it was his castle, and
but it's named Scotty's Castle.
Why wouldn't it be if it's Scotty's castle? Obviously, he's Scotty. He's Death Valley Scotty. That con man lived it up.
All the way up till his death.
It had this dude paying for him. Had this guy just investing into nothing. And
then they built him a castle.
Yeah. And so Ghost Adventures did this episode on Scotty's Castle, and I've never even heard of this place until this episode.
And neither had I.
And
you said, let's do Scotty's Castle, and I'm like, that sounds ridiculous.
Right. But it was also kind of intriguing that I never even knew that there was this castle in the middle of the desert in California.
And now all 30 of you listening to this know.
Now all 30 of you can go to the desert. It's not that far.
30 of you on YouTube. We have a lot more on Spotify and everywhere else.
Yeah, YouTube needs more views.
Yeah.
But
stop listening to us on Spotify right now and go watch us on YouTube.
There were people that have been reporting ghosts and ghostly apparitions and things that have been happening there, but nobody was willing to talk to Ghost Adventures on camera except for these two brothers.
According to Ghost Adventures.
Yeah, according to them. These two brothers said that they got caught in that flood that happened in 2015, and
so this is like a freak flood.
Right. Like nothing like this has happened before.
Or since.
Yeah. There's been flash floods here and there, but nothing to that.
This like a huge storm came out of nowhere. I don't think they even were expecting the storm.
No, because they were deer hunting or something in the desert.
That's right. I think even just like the National Weather Service and all that, that's like this storm just like, maybe I'm making stuff up for dramatic effect, but the storm came out of nowhere.
Yeah, they probably expected some rain, but nothing to that degree.
The flash flood, it completely tore the roads apart. To the point to where so this happened almost 10 years ago, and the roads are still effed up.
These guys were in a lifted truck, and they said water was coming over the hood.
Jeez.
So that's how high that water level was. Because, that place doesn't see water, so the water just runs right off the surface. It doesn't soak in quite yet.
Yep.
And yeah, it's just moving everything along. They end up getting to the castle somehow. They spotted the castle, get to the castle, but they said lights were flickering on and off in the castle when there had been no electricity in there for years.
It's magic.
And they come to find out they were seeing all these lights, and it freaked them out to the point where they didn't even want to go in there for safety.
Aliens.
But I did find some things out that kind of made sense. When I was doing some research on this place, I found out that they had things, there was like water underneath.
Okay.
And they were using that water that were underneath the house, whatever, to actually make electricity. So they had like not a windmill, but the water thingy,
like a watermill.
Watermill, yeah. They had like a watermill that was turning that would make electricity.
Oh yeah, that's a thing.
So with the flash flood going on, it makes you wonder: did that cause a little bit of electricity to start
possible
going?
if that's how they got power. Like if they used the water turbine or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, water turbine. Yeah.
To power the house. If it was still there and still functioning, yeah.
And there was a flash flood. Maybe it was like lifted out of the water and
then it could have totally
activated it or something. So when I heard that, at first it sounded like a scary story.
Right.
And then when I found out that existed under the house, I'm like, why was this never talked about on Ghost Adventures?
Because it's not scary.
But that could debunk that. I don't know if it's still in effect or not. I have no idea. I've never been. I didn't even know this damn thing existed until barely.
You can't really get there either.
Yeah, because the road's all washed out now.
Well, yes, for the most part.
So, and then there was a fire in the last couple years.
Yeah, was it 2021?
2021, there was a fire there.
In one of the outhouses, not outhouse, but like a house off to the side. It wasn't like the main building, right? Mm-hmm. This place catches on fire. Fire marshals come out. They do their investigation. It does not look like arson. There's no electricity going to this building. There was no storms that night. There was no lightning. They do not know how this fire started.
And I think the only thing that had happened recently was they moved the car that Bessie was killed by.
Yes.
They moved that car. Nothing else had changed, and the place gets burned down.
To me, it almost seems like with these stories, it seems like someone or something doesn't want people at this castle.
Or the same electric currents that were causing those lights to flicker. There could have been some desert rats or desert mice chewing on some shit that could have electrocuted themselves and caused fire. Who knows?
I mean, if it was powered by a water turbine and there's no water at the time.
No, I'm kidding. I have no idea. I'm so confused on how that could happen.
That is such a stretch. It's like, maybe it's the mice that chewed their faces off.
It could have been
It was Ben.
Aliens, man.
No, it was Ben. You want to go rats, then just go Ben.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have no idea what I'm talking about.
You're talking about Michael Jackson's.
Yes, Michael Jackson did write the song for that movie. It was a sequel to Willard.
Oh, I thought Michael Jackson had a pet rat named Ben or something.
No, it was for a movie. It was a sequel to Willard. I don't know if you ever saw the remake with Crispin Glover.
No, I didn't even watch the first one all the way through.
So there was the original came out in like the 70s or whatever.
Oh,
and then they made a sequel to Willard.
So that one, the one that came out in the 90s?
No, it was like the 2000s. The one with Crispin Glover.
Yeah, and that one was a sequel?
That was a remake.
Oh, okay.
The sequel to the original from the 70s was named Ben.
Oh.
And Michael Jackson wrote the song for that movie, Ben.
I thought he wrote it for his own pet rat.
Nope. It's for a horror movie.
Oh. So everybody that talked about that... okay.
Yeah, it didn't make sense to me when I was growing up because there was like some kid that was making a parody song. It's like, I made $1 million by the time I was 10.
Yeah.
By writing a song to a rat named Ben. And me thinking rat, like, you dirty rat, you killed my brother. I was like, I didn't understand until like 2 years ago that there was a movie about a rat named Ben, which is the sequel to Willard.
I thought he actually had a pet rat named Ben.
It's from a horror movie,
which
is somehow relevant to the Death Valley Scotty's castle.
But I was right. It was Michael Jackson.
Yes, it was Michael Jackson.
Yes.
But I doubt it was rats chewing cords that set the fire.
No, it was so far fetched from that.
Debunked. No one knows how the fire started, but one would think that Bessie or maybe Scotty or maybe something else, not human, is trying to keep people away from Scotty's castle.
Dun, dun, dun.
I just used my movie trailer voice.
I like it. But I could see how Bessie's spirit could be there. Actually, I could see how all three of their spirits could still want to be there.
But maybe there's other spirits there.
I think there could be, because I mean, it's the only thing out there in the desert, and spirits might just want to be in a building or something, so they see
Maybe
it.
Scotty had some entity attached to him that made it so Johnson wanted to build him stuff and give him money. I have no idea.
But what else was there? There's some scary stuff that goes on there.
Like what?
Oh, actually, they did catch a... So Ghost Adventures caught this thing on the thermal camera that was probably like one of the coolest evidence from thermal evidence that I've seen or that they've ever caught.
Yeah.
Did you see that one?
I did.
So they caught an entity in the doorway behind... was it Zach?
No, Zach was holding the camera. He was holding a thermal camera, and it's not one of the super expensive ones because this episode is like it's a little bit.
It's not that old.
No, it's recent.
Last year.
Yeah, it was last year. It was 2023. It was new. So he's holding one of the thermal cameras that just takes stills images. There are more expensive ones that can take video and whatever. He just had one that takes still images, and he was just. I think he noticed it on the camera, so he started taking pictures real quick. And they show the succession of like 3 different pictures, but in one of them, you can clearly see the other guy on his team holding his shoulder camera, right? Mm-hmm. So you can see all the heat energy coming off the camera because the camera's on, recording, obviously.
Yeah.
People put off body heat.
Right. They glow like red, yellow.
But in the doorway behind him, there was an outline of a person, and it was blue, which is cold.
Right.
Meaning it's not putting off in body heat.
See...
So if it was
head, shoulders, arm, hand, legs.
Something like that is extremely hard to fake if it was legitimately a spirit. Like it could not have been a person because they would have been putting off some kind of heat source.
Right. Even a reflection would give off that like in a mirror or something, like it would still give off the heat.
Yeah.
Or just show the heat signature. But with this, you see that thing come out and it's like, he did like a few pictures and it
was only in the one.
Yeah. And it's clear outline of a person and not giving off any heat. That was really damn cool. That was a good one.
That was pretty cool.
And then they ended up getting like some misty white figure that looked like it was walking. That looked okay. It was actually some pretty good evidence. They ended up having this orb that they said had like a face and a cowboy hat. I wanted to kick the TV when I saw that. I was knock it off.
Yeah. Did you kick somebody else's TV?
Billy's been really acting it up lately on the episodes.
What else is new?
Well, I mean, he used to never act it up. He was not the one that acted up. And I want to say
maybe Aaron
the last
wants
year,
a break.
Last year, Billy's really been over the top dramatic.
Maybe Aaron wants a break from being the drama queen. They also got like a supposed EVP of a spirit saying it.
Yeah.
They were doing a session and they had like their Ovilus 5 out and they're like, "Who are you?" And it was funny is like as I'm watching this, I said out loud to myself, I'm like, "I am me." And it literally like right after I said that on the show, it goes, "I, Richard." And I'm like, "Okay then."
Yeah, but they always walk around with it.
Yeah, I like to set it down.
Yeah.
We have shown I don't think we've shown it, but we have.
Well, we talked about it though.
We've talked about it, like with the Ovilus. If you're walking around with it, there's something that, like, internally, if it is getting vibrations, it will randomly spit stuff out.
Yeah, we've
when
played with it, and
we use our Ovilus. It's sitting on a surface,
right? It's still, and that way, if it does go off for whatever reason, it's not us manipulating it. One of the common reports from people that have worked there or stayed there, because you used to be able to stay there
until the flood.
Till the flood happened, and then it was closed down, and then the fires. It ain't happening anytime soon.
That did.
So one of the common reports is that you can hear someone walking the halls at night, but there's no one there. Workers have also stated that one of the most haunted rooms in the entire mansion is actually the fireplace room. Apparently, they've seen a misty apparition that appears in this room and then will just disappear into thin air.
I would like to disappear into thin air.
Sometimes. People have said that when you see this apparition, you get an immense feeling of despair, and it's just an overall eerie experience. And located in the castle is also a grand staircase. It's been reported that people have actually seen someone standing at the top of the staircase.
It is a ghost.
However, when you call out to the shadow figure, it seems to disappear right before your eyes. There have been numerous reports of people being touched by these shadowy figures, and it never leads to anything good.
Oh, they're perverts.
What does it lead to?
Well, I guess, I don't know. It depends on who you are, because it could lead to something good.
Right?
It's like, ooh, touch me.
A common complaint is that you'll have an itching and or tingling sensation for the duration of your visit.
We call those crabs. If you're being touched inappropriately and it's not leading to anything good, most likely crabs.
Ghost crabs.
Ghost crabs.
They call it, it's similar to
I'm starting to see
poison
why
ivy.
we're on the list of inappropriate podcasts.
Because we have ghost crabs?
Apparently.
Some people believe...
One episode we had ill sex, so go back and listen to that one.
Some people believe that this is the spirit's way of infecting you, and you could become possessed, or the spirit could follow you home.
I don't think that's how that works.
I don't think so either. And I don't know of anyone... I haven't heard of any stories of anyone being possessed there.
You feel like you've touched poison ivy. That means you're going to be possessed.
Oh, that's ghosts. Those are the ghosts. Yep. People have reported seeing a humanoid creature lurking around the wilderness surrounding the property.
Must be a skinwalker.
Skinwalker. It's a desert.
Everywhere is a skinwalker. Everything is a skinwalker.
When you ask people about this creature, you'll discover that they have a very hard time describing how it looks. Most people say that it looks like a cross between a human and a dog, but with horns coming out of its head. Some people simply describe the figure as being satanic.
Dogman.
But
with horns.
That's pretty much Scotty's castle.
Okay, here's the deal.
Break it down.
I did look up on their website. I found a website that they were offering tours. So they did open it up this last December up until March 10th.
Just barely recently?
Just barely. 2023, December 9th or whatever.
Interesting.
Until like March 10th of 2024. It was just select Sundays they were offering tours up to 20 people. It was like 9:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. with an hour drive each way. But if you try to go there, you will get arrested, most likely.
Oh, if you just try to go on your own?
If you try to go on your own. So they're not currently offering any tours. Tours? I don't know if they're going to do that later this year or not, come December again. But the only way to get up there is you had to go with one of like the park rangers. You had to have a guide.
I think you had to have an ATV because the roads are still all messed
up. I think
still.
There was like a bus or something. There's something that they took you up there, but it was like an hour one way.
Right. But probably from Goldfield. That's like the closest city.
Maybe. You like Goldfield. Tonopah is probably closer.
I think he said 50. It was 50 miles away from Goldfield.
I don't know. But anyway, you have to go with like a park ranger. And like I said, as of right now, they're not offering any tours. So it seems like a cool place to go to, and I would like to visit it. But getting there, even Ghost Adventures had a hard time getting there.
Yeah, and it sounds like even trying to investigate, like unless you had the ghost rangers,
they had to. Yes. They had to have park rangers there with them.
Like, yeah, we'd have to get ghost rangers with us.
We need a ghost ranger. That's the name of our TV show.
Ghost Rangers.
Ghost Rangers.
Well, if anybody has been there, or if you have any experiences there, or pictures or experiences, we want to know. Tell us. Send us
Do you know
emails.
How you can tell us? Yeah, an email at evp.pod@gmail.com. You can also check our social medias at Facebook and Instagram at evp.pod. Check out DVO's reaction videos. They're pretty awesome.
Don't forget to come to our potluck that you're doing.
No one's coming. Everyone's coming. It's going to be fun.
In your mouth.
But you know what? If you want to buy some ghost hunting gear, check out our affiliate link to ghoststop.com. And buy stuff. So
all the stuff.
So we can open up booze and cues.
Hell yeah, that's in the works.
Yeah.
Well, all right, guys. Thanks for listening or watching. Peace out, butterflies.
Ghosty, don't play that.
This is the EVP Podcast.